Hey students, today we are going to create a book. These little books are created using one sheet of paper. I want to show you how this works. So here's my cover page, and my first page, second page, and then as I flip through my book, some of the book covers or some of the pages are going to be bound together, and we will demonstrate how that happens. So you see these are an open. We want to keep that closed because that's going to be page 3 and this is going to be page 4. And you'll notice that some of them are like this. So it looks tricky, but it is pretty easy. And this is what we are going to actually take your elements and your principles of art, and we're going to illustrate this particular book. So what you all will need is a sheet of paper, preferably an unlined sheet of paper. This right here is just a piece of computer paper that I got out of the printer. You're going to have to do a series of different folds and cuts. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take my paper and I am going to fold it longwise like a hot dog bun. This is often referred to as a hot dog fold. I'm going to use the edge of my thumb and go back over top of that crease to make sure it's a nice crispy fold. I wanted to make sure that all my lines are lined up. Next, I'm going to take this piece of paper right here. So here's my fold. There's that side, that side. I'm going to take this side right here and I'm folding it up so that it touches that side. So my open edge that I have there, I'm going to cross it down, run my fingernails across it a couple times. I could use the edge of, I don't know, the edge of just about anything. What you don't want is something that's dirty. So if the edge of your thumbnail is dirty and you do that, you'll leave a mark. If you use the edge of a pencil, sometimes that yellow paint on the edge of the pencil might get on there. So just be aware of just using something clean. You can even take your pair of scissors, if you have your pair of scissors, and you can go ahead and rub it down that way. So I have my first fold, and then this is my second fold. I'm going to flip it over. Now I have this extra paper. I'm going to fold it down just like this, lining up my edges, making sure they're nice and crispy. Okay, so we've worked very hard in folding this. Now I'm going to open it all up. So I have crispies, all my edges, my lines going down this way. And now I'm going to make lines going this way that are equal. So I'm going to do a hamburger fold. Always confused me. It's almost, I don't know. Hamburgers generally are not rectangles, so maybe it's more like a hoagie. So I've run my fingernail across there. And now I'm going to take this paper right here. I'm going to fold this up like so. Now, this is bookmaking. You guys are going to be creating a book. And there are a lot of printed books that are actually folded this way into machines. They're bound, so they bind them on this side, and then they trim the edges, and they'll trim these edges so that the book is all printed out that way. So this is actually how some books are actually really legitimately made. Kind of cool. Okay, so now I have this piece of paper that if I fold it, and you can see it, you see all these little rectangles. These little rectangles are going to become the pages of your book. But we need to be able to take your book and we need to be able to fold it. So I'm going to lay out my book that I started so that you can see, here, let me get rid of that paper, so that you can see where I cut it. So when I folded the paper, taking it longwise, so the paper is long, I cut from the width side, from the corner, I cut into this rectangle, the second rectangle, and the third rectangle, stopping right there. Now the next one, I started on the right side of the paper, and I cut into that first rectangle, the second rectangle, third rectangle, stopping right there. And then back down here, I did the same thing. I started on this corner, and I worked my way across. So here's the paper that we're demonstrating on. I'm going to go ahead and cut this middle one first. You could use a ruler and an X-Acto knife if you went out and purchased those. If you're using a ruler and an X-Acto knife, make sure that you put the paper on a stack of newspapers or a cutting board or something like that. You would lay your ruler here, and you would be very careful to get your fingers out of the way, and you would just take your X-Acto knife. That gives you a nice crisp cut. It is not necessary. You can see that I'm doing this way. I'm going to cut here, stopping right there. And I'm going to cut this way, stopping right there. So now I have where I totally screwed up. And it's good that you actually saw me screw up this way. I cut into here, and I should have cut into here. Now, let's say you're at home, because you are. Let's say you don't have a huge amount of resources. What you can do, and I'm doing this in the interest of saving time. If I was actually trying to do something really nice and professional, clearly I would go back and I would start over. Hopefully I would actually just do it correct the first time. But I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape that, fold that under. I'm going to tape this side just to that corner edge where I needed that, like that. And so now I'm taped, and now I have a hole. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from this side. Mr. Stropko and I shared a link to a video of a lady who had a pre-printed zine of these. What people do is that they can actually take a paper like this, do their pictures like this, and they can run copies of their book, and they can cut these apart and make a whole bunch of books really quick to pass out on the streets. The lady that is in the video, she is doing this to be able to spread to her community who the the people who are running for local elections are. So what I'm going to do in order to fold this is that I have these crispy folds that we did earlier. And so I'm just going to go ahead and fold that up like it wants to do. Fold that down. And this side, just following the pattern, wants to go this way. So now my book is on the opposite side here, and I'm at this corner. If I fold it this way, I'm not going to be able to get into my pages. My pages are going to be blocked off. I have to come back and I fold it this way. Now, once again, here's my book. If I fold it this way, my book is locked off. I don't want it locked off. So I'm going to go under, over, under. And now this one's going to fold up. This one's going to go under, over, under, over. You might have to play around with folding these. I've run into where my tape is. I'm going to go back and I'm going to smooth that out. And I'm going to take this, this, and this. And so now I have my book. If I look at one side, if I open it and start to flip it this way, I got one page, I got 2 pages, 3, 4 pages, 5, 6 pages, 7, and then the back cover. I'm pretty sure that we had more pages than that. So if I flip my book over like this, and I start flipping, there's my front page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page. There's my open. I'm going to ignore that. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 pages of a book right here. Now, I could leave my book this way. This is totally fine, totally acceptable, totally awesome. I could decide to get a little fancy, though. And for those of you that are possibly perhaps interested in bookmaking as a craft or as an art form, you can start thinking about this. So my very, very last page, this one back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it up like this, and I'm going to leave it a little bit flat on this back edge, and I'm going to fold it up like this. So I've created this little tiny binding right here, and that little binding is going to allow the pages to flip open and flip closed. And on the underside of this page back here, I'm going to go ahead and just glue that down. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a book that holds together. And so then I still have my pages of my book as I go along, but when I get to the very back page, it's folded over, and that will be like the back cover. So what I did not grab when I started doing this was a glue stick, which is very unfortunate. So I'm going to pause the video, run back and grab a glue stick, and I will come back. If you are watching this for the first time, you're a little overwhelmed, do know that you are going to need a sheet of paper, you're going to need a pair of scissors or some sort of cutting utensil, and you are going to need a glue stick. And we are going to pause this. Okay, so I got my glue stick. Here's my front page. Before I glue anything, I'm going to double check that my folding is correct. And so let me make sure this is the side with all the pages. Fantastic. Because clearly I've already messed up once today when it came to cutting. I know that you don't know me very well yet. I hope that throughout the school year you have the opportunity to get to know me better. But the best thing that I found about art is that I can mess up, and it's okay. And that's one thing that I want you guys to know is that we can all mess up, and we survive. We live to fight another day or to make something else. Sometimes our mess ups can be really cool. So this is where that page, those pages kind of be together. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of glue there. You don't have to glue. This is just another step that just kind of makes it look a little bit more professional. If you're really good at cutting, things to be nice and crispy. I did not cut completely straight, and so there's a little bit of page behind it. I'm not terribly worried about it. That's the inside page. I'm not going to worry about that one, but this is one of those bottom ones. I'm going to put a little bit of glue here. This is another one of those fan fold pages. Not worried about that one. This is one where the folds kind of went up, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue here. My explanations are sometimes confusing for some people, so I'm going to make sure the video of the lady out west, that video remains on here as well, because I think it's important that instruction gets delivered by a great variety of people doing it in different ways. But this right here is your little mini book. You can create these. If you find that this is a process that's really fascinating for you, in the resources section of our Canvas page, I have included an entire bookmaking, it's a PowerPoint presentation, I believe. It's either PowerPoint or Google Slides, but I have gone ahead and uploaded it for you to see all kinds of different books. There's all kinds of really fascinating, neat ways, and the great thing about a book is that it crosses over many genres. So not only is it something that is visual art, but it's also craft, and it can be illustrated, or it can be informative, or it can tell a story. You could use a much larger sheet of paper. So the piece of paper that I started over here, this is 8.5 by 11. This paper right here is 10 by 12, and so my pages are a little bit bigger. The video of the lady that I have included, she does a 4-page zine, so it's actually quarters instead of, I think it might be 8 pages. It's a larger page depending upon the length of the story you want. So lots of different things to do with this. Keep this in mind. You are welcome to do this later on in the year and do different things with it. But it's kind of a fun thing to start with, I think. So there's our book, and your book is ready to be illustrated. So you're ready to, once you have it folded, ready to watch the next video on how to fill it up. Thanks. Have a good day.